Jen Mall, and welcome to Nurse Connect. I am an RN and a board certified nurse coach. I believe that connecting with others is essential to living a happy and fulfilled life, and that sharing our stories not only helps us to heal ourselves, but also helps others by inspiring hope and optimism. I am so grateful to share stories of these incredible nurses on their journey, and I encourage you to find a way to share yours too. Thanks for listening in. Hey everyone, we'll jump onto this week's podcast in just a moment. But real quick, if you're a nurse coach or a leader and are interested in developing a hospital-based nurse coaching and wellness program, then I would love for you to join me in my Facebook group, Hospital-Based Nurse Coaching and Wellness Programs. In this group, we share best practices and resources, as well as trainings to help you develop a successful program, which will decrease turnover and burnout, as well as increase employee satisfaction. Of course, we know this leads to decreased serious safety events and improved patient experience. I have got a free mini course that I can send you to get started on this journey. I will drop the link below, and I hope to see you inside the group. Have a great day. Bye. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Nurse Connect podcast. I'm Jen Mall. So happy to have my friend Bry here with me. Welcome.
Hey, Jen. I'm so excited to spend some time with you today.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm grateful that over the last year, we've virtually been able to connect more, but then we got to spend time together in person at a conference retreat last fall, end of summer, fall. And it was just magical. And to actually get to know like a fellow nurse coach friend in real life was really awesome. And I'm so grateful that we finally got you on the podcast.
Yes, I know. I feel like we've been in each other's world, and then at the retreat, it was just like solidified, and we're like,
Yes.
okay, let's do this.
Yes, that's so awesome. Okay, well, this is about you, so I want to take you back. Tell me, how did you become a nurse, and what has been your journey?
Yeah, juicy question. We'll see
Yeah.
where it takes us. Um, so I don't really remember choosing to be a
Mhm.
nurse. I think I don't know the details of your story, but I think many of us that get into this field have nurses around us, or at least people in the healthcare profession around us. So that was really what I knew from my mom and my aunts and just a lot of my family being in that field. And it seemed just like the right, stable,
Yeah.
right thing to do, but also I was, and there's still parts of me that is just like this natural giver and like the
Hmm.
friend that you go to for advice. And just being able to offer that support for other people, it just made sense for me to step into nursing.
Hmm.
And then I it sounded great. I have these skills and this ability. And then I quickly realized in this system, I felt very constrained.
Mm.
And within 6 months, I hit burnout, and I hit
Wow.
burnout quick. And I spent, the better part of 5.5 to 6 years bouncing around
Wow.
to different specialties,
Hmm.
different environments, and like maybe it's the place and not the
Hmm.
profession, and
Hmm.
but everything was really short-lived. Everything was really short-lived, and through understanding how much I was sacrificing myself in that process, because it was showing up for me in my profession, but also I
Hmm.
was showing up that way personally. So every
Mm.
area of my life, I was just giving. I was
Yeah.
giving to everybody. And I was also working night shift. So, there's that whole other aspect of how you're taking care of yourself. So I started my own, I got into my first coaching container. I got into my first taste of like what is this healing journey? And that's such a big word. But really dove deep into like reparenting and emotional
Mm.
well-being and understanding how much power we have.
Yes.
And then, of course, how things work, I then found the Nurse Coach Collective
Yay.
months later. And it was perfect timing, because, once you start your own journey, you're like, oh, I know I can help people in deeper ways.
Yes.
I can do it, but how do I bring together these two worlds? Like
Hmm.
what is that? So that finding of the collective was just right when I needed it, right? Which I think you and many
Yeah.
of us in that space can be like, oh, it was such a blessing. It was a miracle. Like I was ready to leave, and that was exactly where I was at.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I don't know how much more so that I can kind of start talking about my journey as a nurse coach, but I just want to pause there for a moment.
Perfect. No, I love that. And what I appreciate, I think about nurse coaches is that we are doing our own work. We have done our own work. And so we can reflect back on it very succinctly. Because when you're talking, 5 to 6 year span of really struggling to find yourself as a nurse and a human, and that there are many nurses out there that are bouncing around, and we think, oh, it's the place, or it's those people, or it's that specialty, or it's that. But sometimes it's just maybe not a good fit, or you're just not in the right place to be able to, and embrace that. I don't even say the profession, because the profession of nursing is so diverse, but maybe it is not the right place. Maybe it is not the right time or connection, but you've shown that you can work through and find what works for
Mm,
you. And I can't wait to get in more about what you're doing now, because I can just see you just lit up when you're like thinking about what you're going to talk about. Because now I know the insider, right, with what you are doing and how you've been able to figure out how nursing works best for you.
mm. Yeah. Um, and I think what you just said there and like all these things that aren't working.
Mhm.
I literally said this earlier today, and this was in the realm of nutrition, but I think this applies everywhere. In like finding what doesn't work is helpful information too,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And like noticing, oh, that, for me today, it was like, oh, me not preparing and me going too long between meals really doesn't work because then I find myself eating cookies, right? So
Yes.
it's like finding out like I need to, that doesn't work. And how can I take that information to begin to apply it towards what does? And
Yeah.
hearing you say that, like it can go for nursing too, right? It
Yes.
can go in anything. Um, so I don't know. I just felt called to highlight that because I think sometimes, at least I'll speak for myself, when we're like in that space of finding all these things that don't work, it
Mhm.
can feel like WTF,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, or like what, yeah, what's wrong with me? And
Yeah.
I know several nurses that have bounced around, and that is, they're like, what's wrong with me? Why doesn't nursing work for me? And I've tried to be encouraged, it's like, you just haven't found the right thing, or you need to do some work so that you're not giving so much and getting so burned out, because there is a way to make
Mhm.
nursing work for you and to be happy in your personal and your professional life. But sometimes you have to go through those challenges of figuring out what doesn't work. So, okay, I'm not going back there, I'm not doing that again, but what can I do now? What lessons can I learn from that time period?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh,
So let's jump into what you're doing now.
yeah. Which of course has also been this like stepping into nurse coaching 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago, looks nothing like
Yeah.
it does for me today.
Amazing.
Um, and that's part of, like you said, our commitment as nurse coaches to continuously grow and evolve.
Mhm.
So when I started my practice, I came out like really hot in just having a full client load right away, and really focusing on those things I just went through, right? So that emotional piece, that reparenting piece, that um, recreating, right? Like being that creator of your life. And that carried me through. And then I started offboarding clients and started looking at like what everybody else was doing and
Yeah.
like how can I like how do I keep this rolling? And that looked like teetering on the edge of burnout again.
Mm.
Many like cold outreaches and DMs and just trying to replicate what other people told me,
Yeah.
and it was really not feeling good for me. And I hit this point in the fall of 2020 where I kind of put my hands up and was like, I know everything about every part of me wants to keep looking right at like other coaches and
Mhm.
business models, but I'm going to like take a hard left here in something I've never done. And that was when human design came into my life. And that was when I got my first reading. And again, just everything. really has built upon that moment in 2020 when I got my first reading and really understood how to work with my design.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is a place that I've chatted back and forth with you, and I haven't taken the plunge. Like, I know I'm a manifesting generator, and we can get into more, I'm sure, about what each of those topics are. And I've like dabbled in it, but I'm like, I am nervous to like jump in because I feel like I'm gonna veer off of other things I'm doing. And we've talked about that too. And you, like you said, it's just kind of, I think, the right timing of like when you're ready to like receive information. And I think that's true with many things. But maybe we should back up and explain what the different types are, because if they're new to human design, manifesting generator might just be like the weirdest sounding term ever.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. If I had never heard of it, I'd be like, excuse me?
Yeah.
Um, so what you just talked about, manifesting generator, that's one of the 5 energy types in human design. And we both are manifesting
Yeah.
generators. So to give you a little bit of a taste of these 5 types, just a real brief touch point for anybody. As a manifesting generator, you are really here to be multi-passionate and
Hmm.
like have a lot of projects and spinning plates. And that is really from you being your most authentic self, right? So, and none of that needs to be connected. So allowing yourself to embrace all of those things.
Yes.
Um, as a manifester, which is another energy type in human design, you are here to initiate. You are here to really source those ideas and those innovations from within
Mhm.
and create them. You are very much the igniter to the
Mm.
world, and can really act on ideas really quickly, bring them to life, and then see you later. You're all
Yeah.
done. You don't necessarily have to see that whole project to the finish.
Yes.
As a generator, you are similar to us, like as manifesting generators, we have a piece of both of this,
Hmm.
manifest and generator, to really bring it together. And as the generator, you really have this steady energy. You might find that you do really well with like a standard 8, if we're talking nursing, probably 12, 14-hour shift,
Hmm.
right? In that you can really maintain your momentum. Once you are lit up about something, you can go all in on that and hold that focus throughout. There's someone that I find the generators in my life, I'm like, they're here, they got it, they'll see it through. um, and so we have 2 more types, projectors, and projectors are so near and dear to my heart. Not until after I understood what projectors were through the lens of human design did I realize a lot of my closest friends were projectors. And
Mm.
that's because they really offer us a perspective and sense of wisdom that we can't see. They're kind of above the forest and they can see what's
Wow.
happening and really guide us and direct us when we feel like we're too much in the details. So
Mm.
projectors, again, just so near and dear, and so needed, to be those leaders and guides for us.
Yes.
Our last piece, our last energy type is reflectors. And reflectors, as the name says, are really here to be mirrors for us and reflect things back to us. They are so sensitive, they're so intuitive, and they can really feel and pick up the most subtle things
Mm.
and reflect back to us what we're feeling that we might not even realize, what's kind of going on between the words, what's not being said,
Hmm.
and really reflect that back to us to give us the truth that we may be missing or maybe avoiding.
Yeah.
So that was, I didn't expect we were going there, but I just got all excited. So I love that
Yes.
you asked that question. That's a real brief on the 5 energy types of human
Yeah.
design.
And so how has this impacted your life? Because I could tell there was like this moment when you were like, I learned about my human design, and then like everything changed for you. So like,
Mm.
how has that impacted in your life? How does it guide you? What work do you do in that space?
Yeah. So once I understood different parts of my chart, I began leaning into those. So understanding that, I always struggled with, and I'm curious if this comes up for you, I always struggled with like, what is my niche? Like who
Yes.
is that like one person that I work with and the problem I solve? And like, I have probably done handfuls of like ideal client worksheets, and
Yes.
I like can't get to the nugget. And understanding that I'm a manifesting generator, and like, even if I decide this is my niche for now, I can also have other aspects of my business or just my life that
Yeah.
excite me too, and like embracing all of me. In understanding that with my profile, which is another piece of the human design system, my opportunities really come from my community and my
Mm-hmm.
relationships.
Mm.
And when I reflected back on what I was doing when I was teetering on the edge of burnout, I was doing all those cold outreaches. And when I think about all the success I had at the very start of my business, it was all people I knew. It was all
Yes.
referrals. It was all me just being me, sharing that
Yes.
with my community. So it was really this, I think we hear a lot like, be authentic and just lean into your passions, but and it's great, but it does feel like really like abstract, and like, how do I grab onto it?
Yeah.
So for me understanding my design, it allowed me to connect a lot of these dots of like, oh, I was living this way. I was building a business this way until, I started looking outside myself, or I started
Yeah.
comparing, right? And that's really what that became like, okay, I have a visual and I have some words of like, this is what it looks like to really like practically take this mystical tool into like embodying my most authentic self, right? Like
Yes.
it sounds great, but I felt like I was missing this piece, right?
Mhm.
Because I had started in this like spiritual journey and deeper meditation and pulling cards and all
Mhm.
this stuff, but I felt like it was like two separate parts, and I really needed that bridge, and that's what human design allowed me to do, of bringing this mystical thing into practical action, and like, okay, I can build my business in a way that is referrals, and it is um focusing on my community, asking my
Mhm.
community what they want, responding in that way versus like trying to create these offers from thin air. Like, it's just like not how I'm designed.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, all that being said, I think what comes up for me and what comes up like in so many sessions is like permission to be myself, and a real roadmap to the deconditioning of what we've been told.
Mm. It's fascinating. I love it. Love it. Oh my gosh. Okay. And so you're doing a lot of work with human design right now. I see you, I see the work you're doing. And how are you starting to like work with clients? Like, how do you help them bridge that gap from, what their type is, you can help read their chart, and put that practical action. Like, how does that kind of work?
Yeah. Um, oh, I don't know where to begin. So this kind of, just to kind of this backtrack per se,
Mhm,
maybe
mhm.
this will help get my wheels turning in
Yeah.
cohesive direction. I was kind of using human design in the background with
Okay.
clients. And then not until another nurse coach had seen that I had run an event in my community, she reached out and said, and was looking for some support in doing something similar in her
Oh,
community.
okay.
And just like really wanted like a deep dive session to get her like the need to know, and like so she can hit the ground running. And being a responder in human design, I was very excited by this, and I
Yeah.
was curious if she would be interested in, I'm happy to share everything that I've learned in hosting an event, and would you be interested in using your human design to talk about how we can create it your way, right? Like
Oh,
how
wow.
you're designed to do it.
Yeah.
And she was so open to it. So that was my first time really like forward facing, bringing that
Mhm,
together.
mhm.
And I got off that session and I was like, whoa, this is it.
And you
This is
felt it
what
like light you up. Like, yeah, I
I,
can see that. That's amazing.
yeah. Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay. So from that point, I really began, as you know now, like talking about it forward facing and
Yeah.
being the one to say, hey, I know there's a lot of information within your human
Yeah.
design, and I know you're looking for an easier way, whether that is life in general, relationships, or your career and your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Really taking these pieces that I know about your chart from looking at your design and saying, hey, this is how you're designed to create opportunities. This is how you can really make aligned decisions. This is what like a work day
Good
could
look.
look like for
Yeah.
you. And giving them invitations there to really begin experimenting, because that's what this all is. Like it truly is an experiment. And I really let it be client led, which is magnificent for my design too,
Yeah.
because I'm here to respond. So I need you, like, rather than me saying like I'm going to give you this A to Z thing and it's going to take you from here to here, I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions, and I'm going to be really curious about, what is your intention here? What do you want to get out of this? And then from there, I pull pieces of your chart that are going to bring together this mystical and this practical
Mm.
piece, for the very thing that you shared with me that you want.
Gosh, I love that. And and some pieces are like clicking for me about maybe why I've been so resistant about it. I was like,
Oh.
maybe I'm actually scared to know the right path, because then I actually have to, not have to, but like it makes more sense to follow that. And maybe there's that fear of success that I'm picturing these. Oh my God, I can't even remember what it is, but like with these different levels, and as you basically are leveling up, and those fears and that come in, and that you're scared to make that next leap. And I'm almost wondering if maybe I've been resisting this so much because that would give me a path. It would be how I become more successful by living into my own human design. But am I resisting that because that allow that is I don't even know that's making sense. But it's like it's a barrier to success for me that it's self-imposed, I think.
Mm,
That
interesting.
is interesting. Just
I wonder, um, and I know we were talking about this a little bit earlier, but is is that um because I think, what am I trying to say here? I think human design gives us the path that is more easeful.
yeah. Yeah.
And I wonder if leaning into more of that ease is some of the resistance that's coming up for you.
Nothing is ever easy. I always feel like I've taken the hard way, that I have to earn that, right? And so I almost wonder if it's like, here it is. That seems too easy. That's not going to work.
Mm.
Interesting. Oh, giving me some good food for thought, Bri. Mm. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Well,
And I mean, hey, I get it. I'm right there with you.
yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
something
super
full
cool.
on.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. So I love that you've been able to integrate this into your practice. And how are you still, like you said, you're doing it your own way, which I think is beautiful. Do you still like take clients, like one-on-one clients, like a traditional coach would do, or how are you incorporating this? Because I think there are a lot of nurse coaches that want to do things differently, but there's that perception of, well, that's just not how it's done. And that's not true, because we can really do anything we want, right? And so I
Yeah.
love hearing how others are doing it differently. And I think you're a great example of that. So maybe for somebody out there that is kind of like curious about how they can kind of break out of this box of how it's always done, how does that look like for you in your practice?
I love this question.
Yay. It was a roundabout question, but I got there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, because I think this breaking out of this box has been something that has just been so, it's I feel like the box has been haunting me for so long.
Yeah.
And like to the point of I, I kept my hand, as a manifesting generator. Yes, I am here to have many projects, but
Mhm.
there's a point where like, just because I can do everything doesn't mean I should.
Yes, I get
It-
that.
yes, yeah, right. Um, so I found myself like, I don't want to be in a box, so I'm gonna do everything and fill my calendar with all the
Okay.
things, and like, I'm not gonna like drop anything. And that's not it either,
Yeah.
right? Um, so I really, this past fall, simplified way, way down. And my business really is human design focused. And the other thing that generates some income for me, but I don't even really see it as part of my business. It's just like fun for me.
Yeah.
Coaching at my gym
Oh, yeah.
in my community. So those two things really being my focus. And then other things that I want to like play in, like not everything has to be income generating.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Um, so in looking at, if human design is going to be my focus, I do have clients I work with in longer containers. I have two right now that I work with in longer containers. And longer containers don't always feel exciting to me. Like it has to be a really like soul aligned client for me to
Yeah.
say yes. And for a while at the start, I was like, well, this is the way nurse coaches are doing it. You
Yeah.
sign up for like 3, 6, 9, 12 months, and you're in this thing, and it's a higher ticket price point, and that's what's done. And I've been letting that go.
Yeah.
And really seeing how, because when I think about how I want to design my life, I really still, I want that freedom, right? Like
Hmm.
I'm sure you got into this for the freedom as well, right?
Yeah.
It's a big piece of it. And while there is a lot of freedom in the virtual space, I like the freedom to change, and maybe that means my clients who I work with change. So I have played with um offering human design. I'll kind of speak to three pieces that have been most present in the way I've offered it, in like a pre-recorded format.
Mhm.
So again, having clients give me all the information, and then I take a look at their chart and deliver them like an audio file and a PDF. And it's something that they can return to again and again.
Mhm.
So that's something that I did for Black Friday, which was another thing of like, I was told for a long time, you don't do that in the nurse coaching world. And
Right.
I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
play, like whatever.
Good for you.
Um, and then I did that for like the beginning of the year. So like a year ahead reading based off of your human design. And pulling in also with that, like you get that audio file, and I'm also pulling in these spiritual pieces of me. So,
Mm.
bringing in some card pulls and some energy work in
Yes.
that year ahead reading. And that feels so me. Like
I
it feels
love
so
it.
me, and it also gives me that freedom of like, there's a 15-day window of when this gets delivered. So like I'm kind of working on the back end, but essentially like I can do it when I
Yeah,
want.
it's flexible.
Yeah, like I was doing it like earlier today because I felt creative on a
Hmm.
Sunday. So that's one offering, and then of course having those one-on-one readings with people. I love sitting with people. I love like hearing that real time feedback and insights, and just, we go deep and we go deep fast, which
Yeah.
makes the sessions so fulfilling on my end too. Like we just cut out the fluff, and like we're gonna get in there. And that those sessions are, I don't think I'll ever get rid of one-on-one sessions.
Yeah.
I just love, love, love those. And then the last piece here, just touch on real quick, is I noticed, this human design, I feel like is bringing together so many experiences and so many
Hmm.
skill sets of mine, to come through in this tool. And I've noticed after a session, I kind of feel like I leave my clients hanging. Like there
Oh,
is a little bit of support that happens afterwards, but nothing in a session format. So kind of looking at an offering, again, I'm doing some of my responding here, so nothing is completely set in stone, but just something I've been toying with is having 2 sessions, and then in between that, giving you some like access support to like text, video,
Yeah.
text and voice support in between, right? So having you have that initial session, knowing like I'm in your back pocket for the next
Yes.
month, and then having another session to really like give you that like tie up the loose ends, really
Mm-hmm.
see where you're at, and really kind of opening and closing that container together. Because I feel like we just touched on so much in that one session, and like I know you're gonna go do great things, and like I want to know more, and I want you
Yes.
to feel supported because it is you're doing brave things. If you're going to lean into your design and you're going to like try these things on, I want you to feel safe and supported in doing so. So that's another avenue or offering that I am playing in.
That is so fun. I just love that you've leaned into this and you're like, you are living it. You are, this is how I'm designed. It is who I am. It is how I want to show up in the world. And you want to help other people live that way too. And I just love that. It's so awesome.
Yes, that's what it's about, right? We got to walk the
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Oh, okay. So we have talked about nursing career and what nursing could look like in a totally different model and in coaching and with human design. What else is coming up for you today that you were hoping we would talk about? Because I know we went down the human design trail. And was there something you were like, man, I wish we would have touched on this because this feels really important right now,
Um, anything that feels really important right now.
or a message that you want to share, anything like that.
Yeah, the message that feels really present to me right now, of course we talked a lot about human design. And something that I've come back to, stepping into this, being this human design guide and coach
Mhm.
is it's actually not about the tool, which sounds very
Mm.
backwards, right?
Mhm.
But it's actually not for me as the coach, it's not about the tool. It's about giving you access to try something on to support you in accessing more of yourself and giving you a space to do so, right? So
Mhm.
looking at it on my end as the coach, that's how I'm looking at human design being the tool. I'm your guide, but you are the expert.
Yeah.
And if you are completely new to human design and are just pulling your chart, or maybe know, like Jen, like I know my energy type and I know a little bit, wherever you're at in your journey, just the reminder of it's a tool that's meant to be empowering. So
Mm.
if at any point it begins to not feel empowering and not feel truthful to you,
Yeah.
you get to leave it. You get to leave it. So that's
Beautiful.
just what was coming up for me in this moment.
Thanks, Bry. I love it. I love your passion around this. Where can people connect with you if they want to learn more, or maybe they want to start their journey, but they're not quite ready to like jump in? What share with people where they can find you, but also maybe some additional resources that you would recommend to start with.
Yeah, absolutely. So the best place to connect with me is on Instagram, at bryreilly. I am on Facebook, but I'm not active over there. So I wouldn't even, I've recently disconnected those accounts. So I'm hanging out on Instagram a lot
Awesome.
more lately. So Bry Riley on Instagram. And if they do follow me on Instagram, they'll see in there I do have a free resource that would be a great start,
Perfect.
or even a great refresher if you are familiar with parts of your chart. And this is my Human Design Foundations. And this is a fast track to understanding your energy type and your strategy. So, how to work with your energy body and how you're designed to create opportunities. I lay it all out there. I give you some really practical examples, and you can really get a feel for, the way that I teach and the way that I guide human design. So yeah, come hang out on Instagram. There's a freebie waiting for you over there,
Perfect.
and that's where we can start.
Awesome. Thank you for your time today, Bri. It's been so great to reconnect and for you to share this beautiful work that you're doing. And And I am definitely going to just take the leap finally, because I don't know. I was like, man, why am I so hung up with like not wanting to take the step? Because I'm super interested in it and it feels really good. But then I'm like, eek. So I will be with you. I will reconnect with you on this. I definitely want to dive in more. So we will chat soon.
Incredible. I'm so excited. Thank you
Yes.
for creating the space for us, Jen. This has been so much fun.
Good. Thank you. Awesome. Well, thanks, Bry. And bye, everybody. We will see you next time. Thanks.